All right, let's now tell you about this. President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is tackling the growing trade and diplomatic spat with the United States. The president visited BMW's Rosslyn plant in Pretoria today. The German car maker has been one of the country's major investors for over 50 years. Ziniko Mhlaba was there today and he joins us now. Ziniko, good evening to you. This certainly would have been a positive story for the president to deal with, I suppose, for a change, because this talks to this company saying we're staying put and therefore people's jobs secured. Just tell us briefly what the sentiment was from the president.
So, Xoli, I think the first thing that the president did was to acknowledge that there is a serious problem and the impact is going to be devastating on the South African export market when it comes to the auto industry sector. And you'll remember that there is that AGOA agreement that South African companies enjoy with the United States. And if you look at the percentage when it comes to how much the auto industry benefits from that, actually out of the auto industry itself accounted for over 60% of those AGOA trade. So you can tell that really, we are benefiting greatly with the relations when it comes to exporting our vehicles and car parts to the United States, actually when it comes to the vehicles themselves, but also the parts themselves. So they're saying that should these tariffs remain in place and not be downscaled in terms of the rates, South Africa is going to be in serious problem. But the president also saying that, well, that is the reality, but it is time to also explore other options that might be available for South Africa in terms of where else we can export our vehicles. So let's take a listen to the President Xoli as he explained how he feels about these tariff threats.
Now, the recent announcement on tariffs by the United States, of course, has a huge impact on all of us. It is an important market for our vehicle exports, and it further underscores the need for us to diversify our export base and to accelerate domestic value creation as well. So as we face this threat of the higher tariffs, we need to open our eyes and our ears and see where else can our vehicles go.
So I suppose the question around the United States looming large in that gathering today, because the president not only had to deal with the tariffs that are going to be imposed by the United States, you also have lawmakers in that country putting up a bill that is set to punish South Africans, in particular certain politicians within the ANC. Essentially, they're talking about sanctions against South Africa. But this is not a law yet, it's a bill. Did the president respond to the possible threat of sanctions against South Africa?
So the president, to some extent, depending on how you look at it, did respond to that fact, but not in great detail as we would have loved him to, because he did say, actually he seemed as if he is confused in terms of what exactly is happening, because he's saying that we're in constant conversation with the United States at the diplomatic level. We are making some headways there. However, now this comes from lawmakers. So I don't think he's really shaken by those threats when it comes to sanctioning some leaders of his own party politically here in South Africa, the ANC, because he's saying that, well, there's still a long way to go for that bill to be passed and to come into effect. So he's not worried about that. But he's saying that as far as he knows, as the president of the country, at a diplomatic level, he's enjoying some good engagements with his counterpart, which is Donald Trump in the United States. And he still believes that, those conversations are necessary and they are going very well, and saying that South Africa is very much committed to continue with those engagements. They are not going to drop out of those conversations or tap out of those conversations. So there's that mixed reaction that we got from the president. However, I also alluded to the fact that there is a serious problem with South African relations with the United States. And that is why now South Africa is saying that as far as trade relations, as far as our allies, as far as who we talk to and who we can trust, we are now moving, or not really moving away from the US, but we are exploring other exports, other markets, especially Europe. But very interesting saying that even our own continent has so much potential, so many opportunities that we need to really take advantage of.
All right. Well, let's take a listen to the president before we let you go, Ziniko.